You know, you guys, I have the best job in the whole wide world because I get to meet amazing people like today's guest, Chantelle, my amazing friend. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Francesca. I'm really grateful to be here and so excited to be speaking with you and your audience. So, hello, everybody. I am Chantelle Fitzgerald calling in from South Jersey, right about a half hour from Philadelphia. And I am the founder of Mindset Strategies. We are a leadership development firm that focuses on mindfulness, emotional intelligence, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we also really help support companies that tend to be struggling with trying to get more women of color to higher level leadership positions. We have a leadership institute for Black women that really helps support. And we 50% of our ladies get to the next level with our institute in supporting companies that are really trying to, have more women of color in leadership levels.
What an incredible mission you have, Chantel. And, when I first met you, it was pre-pandemic, and it's amazing to me how far you've come in that short period of time. I want to say it was like 2019, and I love everything that you're doing. It's so of the moment, it's so necessary, it's imperative for the growth of, our individuals, our friends, and the nation, in my opinion. So when we connected, and I love the conversations that we have. I could probably always do a backup podcast based on our initial conversations, but you had some really juicy stuff around cultural humility and cultural, what's the other word, competency. Let's talk about that for a few minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So one of the big things, kind of going around, I guess, in modern day times is the importance of having cultural competency. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so what is cultural competency? And so really it's about knowing about other people's cultures, learning about it, educating yourself on different cultures that are different from yours. So it's being knowledgeable, it's training on different cultures, and it's allowing for people to strive to obtain a goal in terms of understanding different cultures and things like that. So that's really about cultural competency, is knowledge and training about other cultures and
Mm,
backgrounds. But then there's also cultural humility, where
mm.
and an area in which I think that we can continue to develop. Cultural humility is more around being able to self reflect on your own personal biases and also kind of hold your culture in a way that is not dominant, to say, you know what, I can actually learn from other people. And cultural humility is actually an ongoing lifelong learning opportunity for us to better understand other people's cultures and to realize that, you know what, my culture might not be the most dominant or the best. And oftentimes we hold our culture as being, the best and and more dominant, or maybe not. And so it's really about, how do we have humility to other cultures, meaning what can I learn more about, and also self-reflection on ourselves, in terms of really understanding that. So it's being introspective, it's co-learning with other people,
Right.
and growing and increasing your own awareness about other people as well.
So there's a lot of work to be done internally, and I love that because it does help us to build that awareness and keep that open mind. As I was listening to you, I was thinking of a typical, not a typical, but a marriage where there are in-laws,
Mm,
right? And sometimes we hold our own personal, how we were brought up, and differentiate from how our spouses or significant others family was brought up. And it's funny because some people call them in-laws and some people call them outlaws. So let's embrace this in-law family, if you will, and it's the culture, it's the collective of all that is outside of us internally, and keeping that open mind. And I love that introduction of that, Chantel, because it is so important for us to recognize that. To me, what baffles my mind is what took us so long. right?
Mhm,
What
mhm.
took us so long in coming to this point where you and I are having this imperative conversation today to help people grow. Another thing that I love that you said was to continue to learn. That I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. And just to emphasize that, oh my gosh, how much does that thrill you when you get in front of a company and get to do that? Tell
Yes.
us more about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like yes, if we can adopt this mindset is that I don't know it all and continuously learning for life. If we can adopt that kind of mindset to say, I have more to learn and I'm willing to learn and I want to be more open and curious about other people and other ways of life and certainly within the workplace as well. In the workplace we are encountering so much difference, whether it's cultural backgrounds, whether it's even just different departments in a company. A sales and marketing could be totally separate departments and they work totally differently from each other,
Right.
compared to IT and the executive level. So just within a company itself has a lot of different cultures, let alone the culture of the individual. And so if we can adopt this mindset of ongoing learning and understanding and having humility of like, okay, this department is operating completely differently than mine. Can I be curious about how they operate to be able to better work with them,
Right.
and understand kind of how they move, and vice versa? And it would be great if this department could understand how we operate, and have some humility and ongoing learning and curiosity about that, so that we can actually work together and move the mission forward or the goal forward.
So it's a communication strategy, right? It's a communication strategy across the board. So what kind of tips, things, strategies can you offer us that want to step into this awareness? What steps can we take to get us there, Chantel? Like where can somebody start if they want to say, I want to become more aware? Where's the best place to start?
I would say the best place to start is being curious. I love the example that you gave around in-laws or outlaws, and the best place to start is with yourself. And perhaps, yes, if you happen to have in-laws or outlaws, depending on how you describe your significant other's family, that's a good place to start. Can you be curious? And that might be a very hard place to start, especially if you think that there are outlaws and you have nothing in common and they are completely, totally different people. Can you be curious about those people that are different from you? And can you be open minded? Now, of course, there might be a lot of baggage there, and maybe that's a 10 on being curious in terms of really hard to be curious about. But maybe you start somewhere small, and maybe there's people that you work with that you don't really talk to at all, and just being curious about them, and what their life is like in background. So if you don't know where to start with curiosity of, I would like to learn more about this person or this department or industry, and have an open mind. Oftentimes judgment will cloud our open-mindedness because,
Mm,
oh, that's so different from me. That's not how we operate. That's not how we do things here. We've been doing this for 50 years and this is how we always do it, and can we be
right.
curious about how we can maybe see a new way of thinking?
That is brilliant, right? And it's not something to do once a week, right, Chantel? It's a daily practice, this
Hmm.
awareness, this introspection. And if I would add an element of forgiveness,
Mm.
self-forgiveness
Mhm.
is part of the self-love prophecy that we're trying to invoke here, I think, right? So being in touch with who you are so that you can be in touch with who others are. And that's all it is, right? Not to say that you have to agree, but it's good to understand, right? And it creates a beautiful community, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about self-forgiveness. And it also reminds me of having self-compassion,
Mm,
for yourself as well. Knowing that, you're not always going to get it right. But if you are committed to an open mind and curiosity and continuously learning, then you're going to grow. and get better, and having self-compassion for yourself. And I love what you said about, yes, having self-forgiveness as well, because we're not always going to get it right. But if we can have that mindset of openness, humility, and constant learning,
Yeah.
and a daily practice of that as well.
Daily practice. So, and I'm coming up with another parallel, if you will. So we have this saying in yoga, I practice yoga, and they always say to leave your ego at the door.
Mm.
Drop your ego at the door. When you come into this room, you're a blank slate.
Mhm.
So if I could invite listeners, and myself included, to treat every day that way, that
Mhm.
could help, right? With that introspection, with that beginner's mind, dropping that ego and what we've embraced and really suffocated ourselves with. Perhaps it's time to let that go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that is so on point. Absolutely. I love what you said, especially a beginner's mind. I think that is also so powerful, and so much so used in yoga and also in meditation and in mindfulness. Is, yes, we always think we might know everything, but can we approach something with a beginner's mind, maybe
Right.
seeing a different perspective? And that's part of the openness, and curiosity that helps us lead to a beginner's mind. So you might have done something a million times, but can you look at it from a different angle, or a different perspective? That type of thing, and can open up your world and open up your mind to a whole new level.
It's so refreshing to think of life that way, I
Hmm.
think. It's so refreshing to know that every day is going to be a new day, part of your journey, and putting all the pieces together and opening up your arms to something new, a new culture, a new person, a new way of doing things, right? I think it's so fascinating, the work that you do. I love the examples that you give, for sure. So what is a prime example, perhaps, that if some corporations are struggling with this message, um what can, like, companies do? Like, now we've talked about the individuals and how we can approach it, how can a group approach it then?
Hmm. Yeah, I would also say, a group approaching, curiosity and openness. I think it starts with self. And if a group of people are committed to doing that, they can check each other, and also maybe even, as a company, making that a value,
Mm,
making curiosity and openness and humility a company culture value. Can you, put these values inside your culture? And I think that's what could really support companies in helping them, and then checking each other on that, when you're in a meeting, and maybe somebody is being closed or judgmental or not open, you can say, hey, this is our value. We've committed to being open-minded here. We've been committed to being curious. Let's see if we can look at this from a different angle, or even just noticing what voices might be missing in this meeting. If
right.
you're noticing you're having a meeting and everybody looks the same and you're all having the same thoughts, our voices missing, our perspectives missing, are we really getting the full picture here? Is something to be, constantly calibrating and
Right.
noticing. So I think it needs to be embedded into the values and culture of the organization. And that also starts with the top as well. Does higher level leadership, C-suite executives, value openness, value curiosity, value cultural humility, or just
Yeah.
and humility? And I think, checking each other to make sure that we're following those can be
Yeah.
very helpful, in a group setting and in a company setting as well.
Yeah, it does have to start from the top and trickle down. Absolutely. The energy, the passion, the understanding, it's really important for it to start at the top. So speaking of the top, you've done some amazing things and been to incredible places. Um, do you have a favorite piece of clothing or accessory, and how does it make you feel?
Yes, yes, I do. So one of my favorite clothing, I love to wear dresses.
Mm,
So that's one of my favorite clothing is just dresses. And I do have a dress that, makes me feel amazing. And it always gets a lot of compliments, and I feel great wearing this dress. And also my favorite accessory is earrings. I love to, have on earrings and make it an extra little pop with the outfit. So it always makes
awesome.
me feel excited and confident.
So, and that's the word, confident, because that's what we talk about in the show, is how the confidence comes through. And by the way, is it the yellow dress? Your favorite dress?
Oh, no, actually,
Oh,
I have a red
there's
dress that I really
okay.
love, actually. But yes, I also like yellow.
Right. Yeah, because I've seen you in the yellow dress and it's awesome. So Chantel, what a great conversation we've had today. And it's just the tip. It's just the tip of what we can do and what others can do. But if someone wanted to continue the conversation with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, they can go to LinkedIn. You can certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. And in the little message, I'd like to connect. Definitely say a little something to say where you heard or connected with me from. That way I know where you're coming from. But definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, Chantel Fitzgerald, or even my website, which is mindsetstrategiesllc.com. You can find me there as well. So would love to connect with you.
Awesome. So what I'll do, Chantel, is I'll put those links in the show notes to make it real easy for them to find you. So thank you so much for your time and your inspiration. I love what you're doing. And I can't wait to spread the word and tell everyone that we've had this conversation. So have an amazing day, Chantel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You too. Thanks for having me.